Greetings. You're listening to Rebels Remembered, featuring Caitlin DeFord and Kelsey DeFord.
Greetings, travelers across the galaxy. I am Kelsey.
I am Caitlin.
And this is Rebels Remembered, and we are on the Season 4, which is the final season of Star Wars Rebels, and are doing our episodic recaps. And so this is the first episode of Season 4. It was a two-parter, and we're doing it as one recap, called Heroes of Mandalore, which originally aired on October 16th, 2017, but it premiered at Star Wars Celebration in Orlando in April of 2017.
Okay, yeah.
So I feel like there were some things maybe released from this that are spoiled for people if, by the time it premiered on TV in October. Sure. The synopsis is Sabine leads Ezra, Kanan, and an army of Mandalorians back to her homeworld to rescue her father from the Empire. This was written by Henry Gilroy and Stephen Melching for Part 1, Christopher Yost for Part 2, directed by Stuart Lee for Part 1, and Saul Ruiz for Part 2. So, got some trivia for this episode here. So, the original story premise for the episode of Ezra getting used to the jetpack, which he struggles with throughout, is similar to the 1991 movie The Rocketeer. This was directed, that movie, The Rocketeer, was directed by Joe Johnston. He was an ILM artist, most responsible for designing Boba Fett and his jetpack in Empire Strikes Back. So it's sort of full circle moment for him, and then full circle again with the whole jetpack thing. We've got another Rome actor playing a Mandalorian again. This time it is Tobias Hensies as Tipper Saxon, Kevin McKidd, who plays Rao, and Ray Stevenson, who played Gar Saxon, also played in the show Rome.
So they were just grabbing all the people from that to be Mandalorians.
And I wonder, was it, did Kevin, or excuse me, I guess Kevin and Ray were in the same episode, but they were like, hey, let's go get our buddy, and he can be on the show too. Was it like that?
Or maybe, maybe the Rebels writers watched Rome, and were like, okay.
That's possible, yeah.
We'll just grab this guy.
We like his voice, we'll just grab this guy. The chase to save Ulrich Wren, so now Sabine's father has a name, his name's Ulrich, officially in this episode. That chase is inspired by two chases. One in Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Oh, okay, yeah, Raiders with him on the caravan. Okay.
Yep. So there's two chases that it's basically based off of. Katie Sackhoff returns to voice Bo Katan, who originally voiced the character back in the Clone Wars. The weapon's nickname is the Duchess, a reference to Sabine, I can never pronounce their last name with a K. Kryze. Yeah, because doesn't look like it would say Kryze the way it's spelled. The Duchess is a reference to Sabine Kryze, the former Duchess of Mandalore. This is ironic given her pacifist ideology. The idea that Sabine developed weapons for the Empire stretched back to her biography and the earliest story Bible. Specific details were left undefined until this story arc. The last one is the term for the Mandalorian armor is called Beskar. This is the first time it's canonically used, I believe, in television or, that sort of media. It was first mentioned in the Legends novels it's the material that the armor is made out of. So
yeah, back in
whenever the Legends novels came out, the 90s, they weren't canon, I guess. So I guess this canonicizes, is that the word? Canonicizes that material for being the Mando armor. Overall, what did you rate this episode out of 10? Okay,
so overall, I gave this, if I'm looking part 1 and part 2 together, yours is probably going to be lower than mine.
Maybe not.
I gave it 6 out of 10.
I exactly had a 6.5 out of 10. Okay. So, yeah, I'm actually a little bit higher than you.
I loved the animation. There's a ton. There's just so much going on in some of these frames of animation that are so great. The imagery, especially the moment where the weapon is used and Sabine sees the armor crumbled in her hand. And just the imagery of Mandalore as a barren planet because of war. So a lot of good animation and imagery. Story-wise, though, I really feel... And we get to see her father, but because there was so much action, I felt myself, zoning out. Especially during the chase with the convoys.
I was the same way. I kind of zoned out because I was like, this is a very long chase sequence.
Yeah.
And personally, I don't want to get like roasted for this, but I don't even know if this is a hot take or not. This episode should have been one part.
Yeah, I agree.
That we should have not had 2 parts. I know it's about Sabine's journey with confronting what she did as a cadet, but part 1 is literally just them chasing the convoy with her dad.
Yeah.
That's it. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a couple character moments in there that I personally like introduction of Bo Katan, and then Ezra and Sabine, talking about, I can't remember. It's a scene where she's like looking out on the barren planet.
Oh, I have it in my notes. He says your planet's different than mine.
Oh yeah,
a lot different than mine. And then she said these fields used to be filled with grass. This is what war has done to my planet. That scene was great.
Yeah,
I like that.
So little moments in that, but overall, it's mainly a convoy chase.
I mean, the part 1 is, yeah, I agree.
For part 1,
I feel like part 2 gets more into Sabine and the weapon she built and how she actually turn that into a positive, because now she can be the one to sabotage it or whatever she needs to do with it. Also, just the fact that we finally get a reveal of what she built.
Yeah, that's true.
Because we had no clue. She just said, I built terrible weapons with an S, so I wonder what else she built. But this thing is on a whole other level.
I mean, also, like, just how I don't want to say powerful, but despicable it is for them to turn the Mando's own, like, that armor's a part of them, that they make a point in the episode to mention, turn that against them to kill them. That's pretty messed up.
That is very messed up. So it's understandable why she's seen as a traitor. Mm-hmm. I was going to ask you a question about that with Bo Katan. Now, this is the first time I've ever seen her.
Okay.
I've never seen her in Clone Wars. So this was my first introduction to her when she slammed Sabine against a wall. And I'm like, what is happening right now? How did you feel about that moment? And then later she's like, oh, I'm understanding her. And she's actually very capable. And she reminds me of our old ways. Like, what did you think of that jump from slamming her against a wall to that?
So in hindsight, rewatching it, I mean, when I first saw it, I was like, that's a very snapback. Like, you literally went what I thought was a 180. But knowing Bo Katan's story of, following Darth Maul, for instance, or almost following him until he was just like, no, I didn't sign up for this, I'm out. I feel like her pushing up Sabine against the wall, per se, and questioning her, grilling her, like, why would you build this? It was her sort of testing her, but she's confronting her own issues with who are you as a person? What is your motivation? I gotta fill you out because I don't know you. I just know all the things that you've done.
Interesting. That makes more sense.
And if we're gonna follow you, I kind of want to fill you out and, see. So I think when Sabine opens up to Bo-Katan and says, no, it was a mistake, I was just a stupid kid, and now I want to, like, help Mandalore, I think she finally convinced her, like, oh, okay.
She's
just checking. Just checking.
Because that makes so much more sense now.
Yeah.
Of course, you would think that because you have seen some of her arc in Clone Wars. I have not, so...
If you don't, it's complete... Who the heck are you? And then you go, oh, she's awesome. Like, she's great. Like, she just singing Sabine's praises after that. You're like, that was 180. I don't understand what happened. I really wish, like, I'm glad to see Bo-Katan was in this episode, and we'll talk about some stuff later. But I really wish they had kept... I know why, because this is a show for children. Star Wars is for kids, but they might have not seen Clone Wars, so I understand why they didn't go this route, but I really wanted them to sort of talk about... Bo-Katan was seen as a traitor, too.
Exactly.
By her own people. And so I feel like that could have been something they could have talked about, because Sabine's also seen as a traitor to her people, and how you go from traitor to want to lead the people that... essentially
and you know exactly where they could have put that? In that long convoy chase.
That whole thing. Yeah. I'm all for action. I love part 1 with Kanan literally jumping.
My man.
Without a jetpack in a lot of scenes, slicing up, like, walkers. I love that. But after a while, I'm like, okay, where's the emotion of this? Because it has to be emotional because it's about Sabine's journey.
Yeah.
So... But yeah, I think Bo Katan in that way was underused.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you don't know that, you're not gonna be fazed by it. But she's like, well, she's just a traitor, like talking about Sabine, initially. I'm like, but weren't you? Some camaraderie. You could have, come together on that.
My other thing I want to ding it on, besides this calm point chase, is in part 2, and I didn't think about it till we were watching it with our sister Kylie. There's a moment where they do get into the complex or whatever, and they, Sabine actually decides to do what friend Ralph said. Why don't we reverse it on the troopers? And she does so, and is going to let him fry, until Bo-Katan's like, this isn't our way, you're just the same as them if you do this. But then she slices it, and they fly out of there for the place to explode. So why did you they still died,
Okay, I'm gonna say it. I just felt like that was a moment to like, oh, this is to show our audience how great Bo Katan is, so that it will mean something when we give her the Darksaber later.
Maybe
because I personally didn't really. I like that scene, but I also didn't like the scene. Like I liked it because it was like, oh, emotion, but at the same time, like Sabine already had to do this with Fen Rao when Hera got injured.
Oh yeah,
she said she's gonna kill Fen Rao. She didn't do it, so I knew she wasn't gonna fry the dudes.
Yeah, but they blew up.
But eventually blew up anyway. So in the long run,
that
it was like to boost Bo Katan. I think.
Okay.
I think for the audience, per se.
So I'm like, okay, this doesn't matter then, because you still let them. They still died. They blew up.
Because they tried to say like, oh, Sabine needed her to tell her that, so she. No, I don't buy that. I'm sorry. Like when Sabine at the end's like, oh, you taught me that we're better. Yeah. I'm like, I don't buy that. Oh, I don't buy that. I'm sorry, internet. I don't buy that argument.
Yeah, I remember initially when we first saw this, and this is actually the second time I've seen it. When it first premiered, oh my gosh, the level of hate you felt at the end of this episode, because we really wanted Sabine to keep that dang saber.
Could you blame us? I mean, the writing of the Trials of the Darksaber was like, you're going to be challenged. And I guess, in a way, she was by Gar Saxon. But then it's like, we want you to lead your people. Fen Rao's over here, like being a hype man. Like,
yeah,
what? Like, you're going to be awesome.
Even in this episode.
And he's talking to Bo Katan. And at the end, just like, here. And Fen Rao's like, we're for it. Go you, girl. I'm like... So initially, when this episode premiered, I was very upset by that.
Yeah, I remember. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. But in the long run, knowing how this season plays out, and knowing even later in Star Wars storytelling where Sabine goes, she wasn't meant to be a leader.
It makes sense in hindsight. Like, she wouldn't have been... She needs to be with the Ghost family.
Yeah.
Her place isn't, trying to fix Mandalore.
Right. But how cool would that have been? Like, she would have... I don't know, though. Is there any, like... decorum being a Duchess of Mandalore? Like, how would she deal with that if she was a Duchess?
I don't see her being a Duchess, to be honest.
There's got to be fan art somewhere of her being a Duchess, because in my brain, Sabine is a Duchess.
But see, so. I don't know how that works either. We can go to a whole rabbit hole. Like, well, is it royal blood? I'm assuming so, because they call Bo Katan Lady Bo Katan.
True.
Yeah.
She didn't have the royal blood.
So, yeah, in hindsight, I understand it, but at the time, I was like, I'm so pissed that she's not leading Mandalore.
Sabine's father is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think you mentioned this when we talked about Legacy of Mandalore, about her dad. Her mother and him are totally different. Like, it's like literally like yin and yang.
Mm-hmm.
He's more the artist. Well, he is an artist, and he's more the creative, fun guy. Not fun guy, but like creative spirit.
Mm-hmm.
I find that very interesting that they're such polar opposites to me.
Opposites attract, I guess. But also, it's interesting to see when they rescue him in part 2, and they're talking about, I think it's what ship that Tibber might be on. And he just gives all this detail about...
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Like, that's sort of similar to Sabine's, very detail-oriented and knowing the whole picture.
Oh, that's true.
Picture, so I sort of sell them. being similar in that regard. So we're gonna get started on our mystical cup here. Thank you, Yoda. For May the Questions Be With You. I've got a couple questions in here for us to pick out and answer.
What was your reaction to Bo Katan Clan Kree's introduction? Well, we kind of already talked about it, but I had heard of Bo Katan. I kind of knew who she was. I actually did not know that Satine was her sister until she mentions it later in this episode. But fierce and very, very skilled fighter. I mean, when she flies out of the ship with a jetpack and is getting the TIE fighters, that was pretty amazing. But initially when she showed up, they all have the blue cap of armor. I'm like, is this, I knew it had to be a different clan. I just didn't know which one. But I knew she was very important because everybody called her lady, and she seemed to be very respected. So, but I didn't know why until later. So
I also like that quote that Ezra says when she flies out. He's like, I don't want to be a Mandalorian. Like, man, you guys are hardcore. What did you think about this episode setting the tone for the season? Initially, that's hard to go back in my brain. So initially I didn't like the episode. Like, I'm just going to put that out there. But I was curious to see, okay, are we going to have more things with Sabine? Is her journey completed as far as, like, her home world? And then, for some reason, I was thinking, okay, we've dealt with Mandalore and Bo Katan, so we're passing the baton, passing the saber to Bo Katan. She can handle that. When are we going to go back to Lothal? I thought of that when Ezra and Sabine were talking about their respective worlds. I'm like, I want to go back and liberate Lothal really bad.
Like, this one's lost, guys.
Yeah.
What moment of animation stood out to you the most? Really, I mean, like I said, there was a lot of moments where there was so much happening in these frames. The convoy chase, the scene where they're inside the complex and everybody's got their own little mission, and there's a moment where they're like flying on jetpacks, and over here someone's doing something else. It was like a lot. But for me, really, that moment where she thought Tristan and her mother had died.
Oh.
And seeing that armor just cooked, I don't know.
Seeing them come, like, limping when there's this big plume of smoke.
Yeah.
Oh, I had to get this one. Sorry. Should Sabine have kept the Darksaber, or was she correct in handing it to Bo Katan? Initially, I was upset that she handed it to Bo Katan, but in hindsight, I later realized that, that's not where she was meant to be. So, I'm going to leave it at that.
What was your initial reaction to the Duchess destroying armor? Oh, yeah, when it goes back and they show the playback. For some reason, they recorded it. The Empire did. I don't know why. And that was another part of the good animation where it had the helmet falling. I was confused initially. I'm like, how did that not... Of course, they explained. I guess I had to wait 2 seconds for the explanation. But that was interesting. I was trying to figure out, like, why just that armor.
And not the Stormtrooper armor.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure what the Stormtrooper armor is made out of.
Which I would have just took it off. I'm sorry. That's a hot take, but...
Right?
We can't. It's 4 hours out of our... Who cares?
I would have stripped so fast if I was... Well, maybe not if I was a Mando. I feel like that's so ingrained in their identity. They're conditioned to...
Yeah.
You have to have this armor. So, because it's like thousands of years tradition and stuff. Do you feel that these episodes completed Sabine's journey and arc? For the most part, with her confronting what she had done and facing the consequences, which facing those consequences is what sort of got Bo Katan on her side, per se.
Yeah.
Because she wasn't afraid, of what might happen. But yeah, I was just happy, not initially, but happy later to be like, oh, well, at least Sabine's still part of the Ghost Crew, so she's not having to fix Mandalore.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I got a Kanan question.
Oh.
How does Kanan's mentorship appearance here compare to Trials of the Darksaber? That's interesting. How does his mentorship appearance here compared to Trials of the Darksaber. You can definitely see how she. I mean, we saw it too where she fights Gar Saxon. How she's grown in the blade. Still, she's still like she does some pretty sick moves with it in this. Also, she's already confronted what she didn't want to. Mm-hmm. This is more okay. Now I have to take action for what I did, and I don't think she would have been as ready to confront it. And I mean, even when she tells Ezra and everybody to step aside when they're literally pointing blasters at her, she's like, no, I made a mistake. Like, I think she wouldn't have got to that point if he hadn't have forced her to confront all that darkness going on up here.
And I also think Kanan definitely takes a hands-off approach.
I was going to say that too. Yeah, he doesn't really... Yeah, she's kind of like, he knows she's capable.
Yeah, I think there's one scene where it's like, Ezra wants to walk up and talk to her, and he's like, no, leave her alone. Like,
yeah.
You know.
How did Ezra add to the story and Sabine's journey? I keep getting the questions I'm having trouble answering. How did he add to the story and Sabine's journey? Well, first and foremost, to me, Ezra is the audience. He is our viewpoint.
That's true.
And there's so many moments where we do kind of see Sabine through his point of view. Like that one scene you were talking about where he wants to stand up for, or even the very end when she looks over at Ezra after she's handed off the saber and he kind of just nods at her. That their relationship is extremely important overall in Rebels. How did he add to this story? I'm not sure. I can't answer that question. Sabine's journey, he's been, like I just said, he's been present throughout most of it. So,
like supporting her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like just like a good ghost crew does.
Trying to think of the word support.
Favorite moments in part 2. Even though I mentioned that I didn't like. Okay, I'm gonna bring up the one scene that is my favorite. It's at the very end of part 2. We've got the big fight going on. We got Tristan and Fenrir taking on walkers, flying around. You got Ezra and Kanan trying to wipe the data with Chopper. Yeah. It's like that. All those sequences with the big door opens. And you've got that wide shot of what he's looking at. And he's like, wow. Like, I think I was doing that because like there's so much going on. Yeah. Like as animation nerd. So that sequence and the sequence with the scene I said I didn't like where Bo Katan is trying to convince Sabine not to kill the guy Saxon. I didn't like that part of it, but I did like how she used his words.
Yeah.
Just long enough to make you suffer. Like, I love it, I guess because I'm devious, when someone uses their own words against them, doing the exact same thing they did, because, like, karma. Like, I really enjoyed that. Yeah.